Hello, hello, hello. This is Indigo Ocean, and I'm really grateful for your being here with me today. So this is my first of this new series. And by new series, I actually mean renewal of a series that I used to do, because I used to do this series on Periscope, and I think I called it their Spirit-Led Stories. Yeah, that was what it was, Spirit-Led Stories. So the idea with this series is that you hear so much about manifestation theory. And manifestation theory is great. You know, it's good to put something in context so that you can learn and extrapolate and apply the same idea in different situations. So we do need to know the theory. But there's this gap that I see. For so many people, they know so much about the theory, but it's not affecting their lives. You don't see it in application in their lives. And stories close that gap. So what I'm going to be doing in this series is sharing with you stories from how I've used manifestation over the years. And I have to admit, I've become something of a master manifester. So I do often teach you the straight theory, but in this series, I'm going to be giving you a little bit of theory and mostly a story that illustrates what that theory looks like in practice and what kind of results come about from doing it. Okay? So I hope you're ready. So this first story I'm going to be sharing with you is one about trust. And there's a financial component to it, but just realize your situation may be slightly different, that what you're needing and what you're needing to come to you by a certain time, it may be different than in the story, but just see how it parallels something that either you're going through now or that you can remember from the past. Okay? So in this story, I had just moved to New York, and I had been living in Indonesia. I'd been overseas for about a year. So I didn't come back until I ran out of money. So by the time I got back to the U.S., I really had very little money. And New York City is an expensive place. But what I really needed at that particular point was a regular job. And I had a temp job, and I think I was working at the United Way of New York. And the way that they did their temp job, when you became a temp there, they asked you to sign an agreement that you would be there for a certain period of time. So I think I started in like September, and then I had to be there through December 15th. And I was just like, hey, you know, I need money flowing in, and this is great. You know, it was part-time, and I liked what they were doing. I liked what I was being asked to do. I was basically reviewing grant applications, which, you know, great. So I made the agreement, and then I was just going about my life, and there was a Buddhist meditation group that I met with once a week that I'd been invited to through a friend of a friend kind of a thing. And I remember it got to be early December, and I still didn't have a permanent job. I didn't even have another temp job, right? And so I remember being out to dinner with some of the folks from the meditation group, and the guy who had invited me to the whole thing, he said, oh, I hear that your job at the United Way is ending soon. And I said, yeah, it ends, I think this was Monday, like the 12th or something like that. I said, yeah, it ends this Friday. And he says, oh, what are you going to be doing next? And I said, I don't know. I haven't found a job yet. And he says, well, what kinds of jobs have you applied for? And I'm like, oh, actually, I haven't applied for any jobs. The whole table went silent. Like before that, he and I were mostly talking and the chatter of a dinner table. Suddenly everyone went silent. And then after a pause, he says, well, do you have money saved up so that you don't, need a job right away? I'm like, no, actually, I don't even have the money to pay January's rent. Now remember, this is the middle of December, right? This is about December 12th. So they all go silent again, right? You can see they're trying to figure out, like, is she crazy or am I crazy? So then finally, after another pause, he says, well, don't you think you should be looking for a job? And hey, Jennifer, good to see you there. And when he said that, I said, well, now that you put it like that, it does sound like I should be looking for a job. But for some reason, I just haven't felt like it yet. Now, to them, Buddhist, whatever, one of them was like a PhD student in doing a dissertation on Buddhist philosophy, whatever, right? But they were not spirit-led people. It was all theory. to them. Practice of meditation, but in terms of living, trusting spirit, believing that there's a relationship between us and spirit and that it's got our back, that's not how they were living. So when they heard that, it was just like, who knows? Like, they must have thought I was just nuts. But to me, when I say I don't feel like it yet, I mean, I haven't been inspired yet, and I am spirit led. I wait to be told go and go there, right? And I hadn't been told. I've been receptive. I'd been doing the things to receive it, and it hadn't been coming. And so I trusted that it was because it wasn't the right timing yet, and that I would be given what I needed to do when it was time to do it, which is soon enough when you have faith. It's not soon enough when you don't have faith. If you keep checking to say, where is it, where is it, where is it, then it's not soon enough if it waits too long, because you start getting a little frightened, a little worried, right? So anyway, thankfully I did have faith, which is why I get this story that I can share with you to hopefully strengthen yours. So anyway, they all just thought I was nuts. I can't even remember how that conversation ended. But then a couple days later, that Wednesday, I was at the United Way, and afternoon came around, and I just didn't have any work to do. And so I thought, this is probably a good time for a ritual act to let the universe know what kind of job to send me. And I had been, doing my inner work, and so I had clarified that I wanted something where I helped people integrate into society. I had known from my own life the pain of feeling like I'm on the outside. Here's all the world going on without me, and here I am, and I don't know how to get in. And it was such an unhappy time in my life that I said, you know what? I want to help people who are feeling like that and help them get into society. But that's all I knew. And so I kind of thought, well, maybe that's like, refugees, like they come from another country. They don't know how the ways of here. And a lot of them do come to New York, and maybe I can help with that. But I just didn't find any jobs related to that. But all I had was, I want to help people in this way. I didn't really know what job it was. But I said, I need to find something that's kind of like that and just send out my resume as a ritual act to, I'll get into the details of that idea some other time. I don't want to get off topic. So that's what I did. I went on Opportunity Knocks. I don't know if this was a while back. I don't know any of you in the nonprofit sector. You remember the magazine or newspaper called Opportunity Knocks? Well, so back then, oh, hey there, Kiana. Oh, thanks for sharing that. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, those of you, I do appreciate it very much if you share this or like it or do any kind of reaction. Helps more people to see it. And yeah, I am sharing this to try to help as many people as I can. So thank you so much for that, Kiana. So anyway, so I knew that I wanted to help in that particular way. That's all I knew. And so I went on Opportunity Knocks, and I actually did find something that was kind of like that. It was about helping adults return to work. So these were people who had had a chronic illness, and so they'd been out of the workforce, and medicine had advanced so that now they could maintain their illness better. And so they were able to go back to work. And I was like, that sounds exactly what I've been thinking. I never would have thought of that because I didn't know it was happening. But yeah, it's helping. Work is such an important part of being a part of a society like America is such a capitalist country that if you can't be in the world of work, you really are. It is like you're outside of the whole life, right? And so it was exactly the kind of thing. So I saw that the job ad had been up for like over a month. So I knew there was no chance it was still available, but that's okay because I wasn't trying to get a job, despite the fact that I needed money. I was just trying to engage in a ritual act to let the universe know, okay, here's in our relationship, let me, do my part, right? So I sent off the resume. By the time I got home, now this was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I think I got off work at like 5, right? So by, say, 5:30, by the time I got home, there was a message waiting for me on voicemail from that nonprofit asking me if I could come in for an interview the next day. And I was like, okay, sure. Thursday happened to be a day. I think, no, Thursday I did work at my part-time job, but somehow I was able to make it work. I can't remember how. So I did go into the interview that Thursday. And as I was walking out to the elevator, the sister who walked me out to the elevator, who was going to be my direct boss if I took the job or if I was offered the job, she said, "We are going to make you an offer." Now check this. She says, "We're going to make you an offer. And Human Resources is the one that's going to call you. And when they call you, just realize they always lowball. So no matter how much money they offer you, ask for more. Now, the job was already listed at more money than I'd ever made in my life. It was the highest paying job that I'd ever even interviewed for, let alone had. And she's saying, no matter how much they offer you, ask. I've never asked for more money in my life. If someone offered me a job I was going after, I was just grateful. Whatever they gave me, I was just grateful for it. Isn't that how you usually are? So, but she told me that, and I was like, hey, I'm running on faith energy here, so I'm going to trust you, sis. It turned out, later I found out, she and I had the exact same birthday, like to the day. Same hospital we were born in, both had dreadlocks, both had a master's in counseling psychology, both had moved from New York to the South and then back to New York. I was like kind of iffy about astrology before that, but then at that point I was like, okay, this thing is real. But anyway, I digress. So to get back to the story. So it's true. When I got home, actually I had to go back to the United Way from the interview. And when I got back to the United Way from the interview, my boss there said that she had just gotten a call from someone checking my references. I'm like, I haven't even gotten back from the interview yet. They're already checking my references. And so she said, I gave you a glowing reference. And so then I think so this was Thursday. So I got home. So then when I got home from the United Way at around 5:30, 6 o'clock, there was another voicemail waiting for me, and it was offering me the job and asking if I could start that Friday, the next day, which was the 15th. And I called them back and I said, I'm sorry, I cannot start tomorrow because I have an obligation at the United Way where I have to be there through tomorrow, through the 15th, but I can start on Monday. And they said, all right. So I ended at the United Way on Friday evening, and I started at my new job on Monday morning. And I got my first paycheck just in time to pay January's rent. That's how you do it. That's faith in practice. That is letting spirit manifest you. That is leaving room for the miracles. Yeah. Okay. Why does all of it feel like deja vu? Oh, really? Oh, really? Okay, so Shanita, sometime you got to tell me your story. Yeah. But, I was coming off of a year of living my faith. Like I was so spirit led that whether I would leave the house or not, whether I would go this way or that way, whether I would stay longer in a restaurant, even though I finished eating. Sometimes I'd be in a restaurant through 3 meals. I kid you not. 3 meals, a movie, and dessert. Because spirit kept telling me to stay. And as different people would come in, miraculous things kept happening in my life of where people just kept offering me unbelievable opportunities, just crazy opportunities. But I was living so spirit-led. So for me, after having had that experience of where for a year I didn't really need money for the first time in my life, I wasn't broke because I was living in a country where my money went so far. Even though I didn't have much money, I just sold all my possessions. I'll tell you that story some other time though. But in any case, because I had just come off a year of that and then moved to New York, and so I was not in New York that long. I think I was there about 6 months when all this happened. I still had that depth of faith because it didn't have to be. This is a key point. Sometimes when people think about faith, like if you hear a story like that and you think, but I couldn't do that because I'd be too worried that I wouldn't get a job in time to pay the rent. I'd be too worried if this would happen or that would happen. I couldn't push it that far because what if it doesn't happen, right? And when you're in that frame of mind, you're right. You can't do it because faith isn't something you act out. It's not something I choose to act as if I have it and then it works. It's either there or it's not there. And the way that you build faith is by starting with things where the risk is small enough that you really can do it, that you really can say, you know what, whether it goes this way or that way, it's not really a big deal to me, but I'm going to have faith that it's going to go the way that I want, and I'm going to lock on that target, and I'm going to expect that, and then we'll see. If you can take that attitude towards it, then it can come. And little by little, and I'm not kidding you, those of you who did the 21-day manifestation challenge, which by the way, if you've not done that, please do sign up for that. It's free. And it'll take you through 3 weeks of different little exercises that step you in this direction. That basically, that whole challenge is really designed to build faith in the relationship you've got with Spirit and how the two of you work together to create the life you want. So if you haven't signed up for it, it's just 21, the number 21, 21-day manifestationchallenge.com. After I get off, I'll type it into the comments if that's easier. But so yeah, do that for 3 weeks if you haven't done it already. And if you have done it already, fantastic. And I hope that you've been, sharing in the People of Color Manifesting Destiny group about your experiences. Because when I share this experience with you, even though this was many years ago, it renews my faith a little more too, because I'm not living an experience like that every day. Thank goodness I'm not. I prefer to have a little more stability. But the faith of it, that part I want access to all the time, right? So when we share our stories, it helps other people, and it also reinforces for ourselves. Like, yeah, this really is a miraculous world. Even though on a day-to-day basis, things are pretty ordinary. I get up at about the same time, always wake up in the same bed. Hey, if you don't always wake up in the same bed, good for you, but I'm too old for that. Get up, there are a few different things you have for breakfast, out the door at whatever time, or on the computer at whatever time if you're an entrepreneur, right? Like there's a lot of sameness, right? And it gets harder to leave the room for the miracles because there is so much conformity from day to day. And so when we share our stories, we help others, and we also help ourselves to remind ourselves how miraculous our lives can be. So I encourage you, like, people give each other permission all the time to tell stories about how bad things are, don't they? Like if you want to talk to people, say, oh, things are not going so well. Oh, tell me more. Everybody wants to hear it, right? But when you start talking about how blessed you are, you got to find those people who are willing to listen. And so People of Color Manifesting Destiny, that group, we're there to listen, right? There are a bunch of us in there that are ready to celebrate with you always. And I promise you that I am. So yeah, if you've already done the 21-day manifestation challenge, just keep sharing in there as the fruits of that unfold in your life. And if you haven't done it, please do it. And then the bottom line, however you get there, as you build your faith, as you build it with the little things where you can truly be, in trust, because it's like one way or the other, like it doesn't matter that much to you. You get to where you can also do it on the big things. And it's true. It's not something you're doing, actually. It's really just more what's happening. Like, I genuinely wasn't worried. I genuinely knew that what I needed was going to come to me when I needed it. I knew it. It wasn't something I was deciding. And that's how it works. Manifestation follows expectation, which is something I'm going to talk to you more about some other time. So I'm going to peace out here. Oh, hi, Tunisia. That group refuels my fire. Seriously, it's a great group. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. I really appreciate your saying that, because that was my intention in creating it, is to create that for our people, to create that container that I maintain it as being 100% positive. I know the reality of our lives, that we're up against a lot. You don't need to be reminded of that. You got plenty of places to be reminded of that. Am I, yeah? But this is a place that will get you into your vortex and help you stay in your vortex. And it's really just about that, and support you around, again, manifestation follows expectation. So we've got to keep you focused as much as possible on what you do want, keep you pointed in that direction. And so we're a community of people who are helping each other to stay pointed in that direction, and, enjoy that process. All right, thanks for being here with me. So like I said, I'm going to have to try to figure out what is the best day of the week and what is the best time of day to do these. But I do want to start doing it once a week, and just having this little extra, making it more concrete what these manifestation laws look like when they're put into practice. I'll be sharing different stories with you. Shamika saying, your story helped me, remind me to be grateful. Thanks for sharing. Oh, good, Shamika. I'm glad. And Shania says, so glad I caught this tonight. Was just talking about this with my best friend a few hours ago. That's how it is. Spirit's on your case, Shanita. Like this is there have been a few things I can tell recently. You're in a good groove. So whatever you've been doing, keep doing it. You're in a good place. Kiana saying, yes, focus on what you do want. Yes. I mean, if you think about it, Kiana, isn't it in a way it's kind of obvious? And yet that's not what people are doing. That is not the norm of our society. Like I said, there's a lot of support for talking about what's wrong. People get together and all they do is take turns complaining, right? And that's how they bond. Now, if the alternative is isolation, okay, maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. But they are keeping each other stuck. I can promise you that. Maybe they don't have to be stuck alone, so there's something to be said for that. If they're going to be stuck anyway, at least it's not alone. But I would much rather people come together around what they do want and around appreciation and positive expectation and focus. And that's another thing I'm going to be talking to you guys about with some other story some other week. So I'm going to go ahead and peace out. All right. Thank you all so much for being here. And those of you who shared and liked and all of that, thank you so much for that. And I will see you again next week. Okay. Bye-bye.